All right, if you love honey cocktails, you've come to the right place because this is the first of a 3-part mini-series of honey cocktails. All cocktails using honey syrup. The first part of the series is going to be basically the honey cocktails that you should know. The more common cocktails, the bee's knees, the gold rush, a few others. There's one that you might not know. Then the other 2 in the series are going to lead into cocktails that I think 95% of people aren't going to know. So yeah, first part of a series. I hope you love honey cocktails. Keep in mind that I'm not going to publish the second 2 back to back. So the only way you can get a link to those is if you watch the end of this video, and I'll link in the end screen. Let's get into cocktails. I'm going to start straight into it. They're all quite similar, these first couple. They're mainly the base spirit that is a little bit different, and perhaps switching from lemon juice to lime juice. The ratios might be a little bit different as well. So let's get into it and start with the first one, which is the bee's knees. Honey cocktail, bee's knees, it's got to be the first one to start with. So I'm using 3-fold distillings, dry gin. So 2 ounces, 60 ml. The bee's knees, the gold rush, favorites of mine, just goes to show how simple cocktails can work really well. And we have freshly pressed, freshly squeezed lemon juice, 1 ounce, 30 ml. And of course, glass sitting aside, chilling, getting nice and cold. And I'm going to stick with a 3-to-1 syrup, so 3 parts honey to 1 part water for the entirety of the video. Some people prefer 2-to-1, 1-to-1, it's completely up to you. I prefer that strong, rich honey flavor that's going to be really upfront. And also, if you do a 3-to-1 syrup, this is going to last you a long time. I mean, liquor.com says it will last a month. It's definitely going to last longer than a month, especially if you sterilize all your equipment, sterilize your bottle. I've had people, I saw comments on Reddit, people had their honey syrup for over a year, but I don't recommend that. I recommend just making smaller batches. There we have 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml, and you can see like the viscosity of that. It's gonna add a lot of texture to your drink. Add ice, shake for 10 to 12 seconds. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite honey cocktail is. I would love to know. And by the end of it, let me know if there's any honey cocktails you think are missing that should have made it in the must-know mini-series. There's a little bit left in there. And for garnish, and garnished with a lemon twist. Cheers. Gin and honey, well, I should say honey and citrus work really, really well together. I like the use of the 3-to-1 syrup because the honey is up front, plays nicely with the botanicals of the gin. It's a juniper forward gin. Ooh, it's such a good drink. And I do think the 3-to-1 is a good ratio to use. It's gonna last longer, and the flavor of the honey is up front. It's strong, it's bold. Delicious. All right, nice and simple change up here. Change the gin to bourbon. I'm using Wild Turkey 101, so it's 50.5%, served in a old-fashioned glass. Gold Rush, 2 ounces of bourbon whiskey. This is not a Sam Ross drink. Where is it? No, it's not. Gold Rush. TJ Siegel, friend of Sasha Petrosky, I believe. I have to check. These first 2 recipes are in my cocktail book, Steve the Bartender's Cocktail Guide, and I had that information in the book, so I probably should have read my own book to find out who the creator of the drink was. I think it was TJ Siegel. Anyways, 2 ounces of bourbon whiskey, 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml of lemon juice, 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml of honey syrup. Easy as that, and give it a shake. Strain it over fresh ice. A couple of cubes to top it up. And I'm going to switch it up to the Bosca slicer because I want a thicker twist. There you have the Gold Rush. Nice, simple, 3-ingredient cocktail served over ice. Cheers. Just a bit warmer, richer, obviously from the whiskey. You've got the more oaky kind of characteristics to it. A little bit more depth, whereas the Bee's Knees is lighter and perhaps a little bit more delicate, a little bit more of, you get more of the floral aspect from the honey. This is one of my all-time favorite cocktails. All right, cocktail number 3 is the Honeybee. But before I get started into the details about the Honeybee, there is also one called the Honeysuckle. The Honeysuckle calls for a lightly aged Cuban rum, whilst the Honeybee calls for a Jamaican rum. In saying that, I have seen a couple of references calling specifically for Gosling's, which is a Bermudan rum. So I'm going to do a bit of a bonus cocktail and try 2 of them side by side. I already know which one I prefer because I accidentally made them and I made it with lemon juice instead of lime juice. Different acid, but I kind of know which one I already like based on those tastings. This is the same specs as the, well, not the same specs, but it's very, very similar to the Gold Rush, except instead of lemon juice, we're using lime juice. Instead of bourbon whiskey, we're using rum. Instead of it being served over ice, it's served up in a chilled glass, in a Nick and Nora. So I'm going to make 2 at once. So yeah, the difference being, one will be Jamaican rum, Plantation Yarmulke. They're special dry, so 2 ounces, 60 ml into tin. And then Gosling's Bermudan rum, which is a black rum. Same measurements, 2 ounces, 60 ml. We have honey syrup, so 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml. And now, because I've accidentally stuffed up and made extra cocktails, I have to make some more honey syrup. Goddamn. So we have lime juice this time, not lemon juice. Although it still works with lemon juice. So if you don't have limes, or if you're paying $35 a kilo like I did today, I bought 6 limes, it cost me $21. So if you're in that scenario, you don't want to spend that much money on limes. If you're here in Australia, feel free to use lemons. It works, tastes good. 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml of ridiculously overpriced limes. And I would hate to be running a cocktail bar. Obviously, they'll get wholesale pricing. They'll get it by the box, they'll get cheaper. But if you're paying $35 a kilo to try and make drinks, whew, simple as that. Rum, honey, lime juice. Give it a shake. These tins are great. A bar above, link in the description. Limes are so expensive. I'm not gonna use another one just for a twist, so I'm gonna do a little teeny tiny lime coin to express some lime oils over the top. I can already smell the difference with the drinks purely by using the lime juice. It's just more acidic, more brighter. It's a specific smell with those limes compared to the lemons, obviously. As you can see, Jamaican rum versus Bermudan rum. That's a black rum, so it obviously looks a lot darker. I'll start with the Jamaican rum. All right, admittedly that works better with the lime juice. Rum and lime, hand in hand. You get those, first thing that comes through is the honey, but then the kind of funky kind of flavors of the rum. And specifically, as I said, I tried it before, so specifically this one. And then, yeah, that's good. Out of those 2, I prefer Gosling's actually. Quite surprised with that. That's a little bit richer, funkier, but in saying that, the lime juice, the funkiness comes through less compared to when I tried it with lemon juice beforehand. Sorry for making this confusing, but I'm not including that footage and I'm talking about it, so I probably shouldn't do that. Anyways, I've had about 5 sips, so Yeah, that's just like richness. You get the lime on the nose, really beautiful honey notes to it. And exactly what I said with the Gold Rush, it's just a richer, like obviously there's different flavors as well, but it's a richer version compared to the Bee's Knees. Bee's Knees is more delicate. Obviously when using matured spirit, it gets influence from the oak. On to the next one. All right, cocktail number 4 is the Brown Derby. So we're switching out the Jamaican rum and subbing in bourbon whiskey, bringing the bourbon whiskey back, bourbon, honey syrup, and grapefruit juice. I'll start by a finer. Use the OXO. For those who are wondering, the difference between the two peelers that I'm using, the OXO doesn't seem to get much pith when you peel, so it's easier for doing finer garnishes, and if you want to slice it up and then give it a nice twist to make it look really nice, OXO is good. If you want something thicker, which peels off a little bit of pith, has more structure in the peel, then the Bosca cheese slicer. I tend to use this for more rustic garnishes. If you want to do a peel in your old fashioned, in your Negroni, Bosca is the way to go. If you want to make something nice, little delicate twist, then I'd go for the OXO. And you can just do this and slice it up, make it a little bit prettier. Not that garnishing is my strong point. But yeah, if you're going to juice your citrus, obviously you want to get your garnish on first. Now, I am using Ruby Red Grapefruit. No doubt, I'm 99% sure that the original drink was made with white grapefruit juice. It's not that common, really. Not common, it's just a lot of fruit stores here don't seem to stock white grapefruit. And a lot of people make it with ruby instead. I think this is just going to be a sweeter, slightly sweeter style. So we have 1 ounce, 30 ml of grapefruit juice. Doing a little bit backwards to what I normally do, purely because I have to juice it first. We have 2 ounces of bourbon whiskey. I'm going to stick with Wild Turkey because it's my, not house pour, because I'm making it in the studio. It's my go-to. And then because the grapefruit juice isn't as acidic as lemon or lime juice, you don't need as much honey syrup to balance it out. So we only need to pour 1/2 ounce, 15 ml of honey syrup. Simple as that. I'm gonna serve it up in this nice nickel Nora glass. Add some ice and chill it down. Ice into the tin and shake. I need to get some nicer toothpicks for my garnish game. There you have the Brown Derby. Now, for those of you on medication, on heart medication, you shouldn't be drinking grapefruit juice like me. So it affects the medication. So I'm just gonna have a tiny sip. It's definitely a lot lighter, despite the like those whiskey, those oaky notes, those characteristics of the whiskey come through more so. It's a less rich drink because you don't have a lot of acid and sweetener. So you've only got 1/2 ounce compared to the other drinks, which had 3/4 of an ounce. Don't have as much acid because using grapefruit juice. It's more subdued, not subdued, because the whiskey's stronger, but it's not as rich. I'm gonna put it out there and say this is probably my least favorite of the other drinks. I would prefer to have more acid in this. So maybe if it had a little squeeze of lemon juice, that might be more up my alley, but it's got grapefruit juice, so I shouldn't be drinking anyway. So next we're gonna make a penicillin. Yes, another favorite of mine. Damn, I must really like honey cocktails. So we're gonna take away the bourbon whiskey, replace it with blended Scotch whiskey, I'm Scottish all of a sudden. And then add an Islay whiskey, still got the honey syrup, lemon juice, and Liber & Co.'s fiery ginger syrup. This one is served in an old-fashioned glass, so get that ready to go. Grab my tins, and we're gonna measure up 2 ounces, 60 ml of blended Scotch whiskey. You'll notice that a lot of these ratios are very similar. The specs are pretty much identical across all these drinks. They're just different spirits and served up instead of ice. So once you remember one, you should be able to remember them all. Then we have 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml of honey ginger syrup. So I'm just gonna do half and half between these two syrups. You can make a honey ginger syrup to use if you really love the penicillin and if you're gonna drink them all the time, but I'd probably prefer to keep the syrups separate and just do 10 ml, 1/3 of an ounce each time. We've got fresh lemon juice, 3/4 ounce, 22.5 ml. Now, keep in mind with the original penicillin, it was created by Sam Ross. He comes from the milk and honey family. The way they like to make their ginger syrup is equal parts of ginger syrup and sugar. I'll leave the recipe in the description below, but I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Add ice, and then I'll shake for 10 to 12 seconds. Okay, so the original recipe does call for skewered ginger. I really don't like candied ginger, so therefore I don't have any. As I said before, my citrus, even with the lemons, have been expensive. So I'm gonna cut a lemon wheel from this one. It's missing the, whatever. It looks fine to me, especially when you hide the rest in the bottom of the drink. There you have the penicillin. Yes, another honey cocktail, an absolute favorite of mine. So blended Scotch whiskey, Islay whiskey, it's gonna add that smokiness. I didn't even talk about the ingredients when I was pouring, I'm sorry. Famous grouse, blended Scotch whiskey, and Islay whiskey, a single malt, adds peatiness, adds smoke, and then you've got that honey ginger lemon combo. So hence the name penicillin, because it's medicine. Cheers. I love how I just talked about through all the ingredients and even mentioned the Islay whiskey and then didn't add the Islay whiskey in. I was just having a sip so I could fit the Islay whiskey in. Sure. Just a bar spoon. So teaspoon, bar spoon, 5 ml. If you like it smoky, if you like it peaty, you could definitely go more than that for sure. That's more like it. Or you could also spray the glass, rinse the glass, whatever you like. There we go, that's better. Massively different. It's not, I'm not gonna say it's one-dimensional without the Islay whiskey, but the Islay whiskey really completes it. It gives it that like peaty, iodine, rich, smoky kind of characteristic. Even though it's only that tiny measure, it really brings it all together. It's still a good drink without it, but I think it's much better with the Islay whiskey. One of my favorite drinks for sure. Gets, the honey's pretty subdued in this because I think you've got some pretty strong flavors from the Islay whiskey and the ginger. It's got a nice level of spiciness. It's got a little bit of kick. Fantastic cocktail. Like I said, if you want more honey cocktails, check out the video up here. It's not going to be published yet, so the only way you can access it is by clicking this right there. Lots of honey cocktails, 2 more parts in this series, and I'm sure the other 10 cocktails you probably haven't tried before. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon for another cocktail video. Cheers.